All right. I'm going to take on the high-risk presentation for this morning because, someone should, right? Someone should have a little fun with it. As a matter of fact, we're not going to spend a lot of time in slideware mode. I want to do mostly everything in live demo mode. Is that fair? We don't get to do that too often in a lot of these keynote settings. We basically try to, use so many presentation materials so that we don't have to do anything that's actually too risky. I'm going to take on maximum risk today. We're going to go for it. But I only have a few minutes, and I want to tell you actually a very short story to kick things off. But let me show you this right quick. I'm going to actually try to run a live demonstration. Where's my mouse here? That covers all these different open source technologies in a very short period of time. Right? We're going to see a little Backstage and Kubernetes. We're going to see a little Jupyter. We're going to see a little Mistral. We're going to see a little bit of GitLab. We're going to see it all in a very short period of time because I want to show you a proof of concept that I've been working on that basically brings together the concept of developer experience and platform engineering and how you actually put it all together so a developer and a ML ops team and a data science team can kind of work together and collaborate. And again, it's just a proof of concept I've been working on within Red Hat. Now, but let me first start a little background story, though. And this is a story that you might decide it resonates with you or it doesn't. But my background is a little bit unusual. I'm a guy that was born in Hawaii and grew up in Alabama. Now, you're probably thinking, what's going on there? I know. I was born in Hawaii. I grew up in Alabama. Then I went back to high school in Hawaii. And it was actually in Hawaii that I learned how to write code. It was specifically in a high school called Pearl City High School that basically had this simple concept above Pearl Harbor, right? In other words, you're up the mountainside above Pearl Harbor, and from your classroom, you could actually see some Pearl Harbor, and you could kind of understand where Waikiki is and Diamond Head, and you were just up the mountainside. And I learned how to code in this environment. It was a highly distracting environment, as you can possibly imagine. But I learned to write code in this moment, and it actually taught me something very fundamental, and this is 40 years ago, that I had a very special superpower when I engaged it. I could put my fingers on the keyboard, I could type in arcane commands, and it would say, hello, Burr. But I want you to think about the moment that you wrote a little bit of code, a piece of script, a Ruby script, a Bash shell script, a playbook in Ansible, or some Java code or Python code, whatever it might have been, and you made it do something that did not yet exist in this world. And hello, Burr at this point was unique, right? There's not too many people named Burr. So I want to kind of show you now what it means to use that superpower, because that is really the goal behind the thing I'm about to demonstrate for you and show you. So I want to show you this thing called Backstage. Okay, we're going to start there. And Sonatype created Backstage several years ago, and the mission was to give you three things. The developer only needs three things. They need their IDE, they need their Git repository, their Git manager, and they need this portal. The portal is where you go for all the other information besides typing in code or saving code to a repository. And the primary feature of that, of course, is this thing called the catalog. This is where I, as a new employee for this organization, can find out everything else about what everyone else is working on. I can kind of see across the organization, see what's going on. So if I come in here and say, look, I know I'm coming in to work on a new project. I might be working on the e-commerce project here in this organization. I can see the dependencies, like what components it depends on, what resources it uses. I can see what APIs it consumes. I can look at this graph, and maybe I can pinch in here and look at it a little bit, see all the different APIs that are consumed, it produces. I can double-click on that one and see more information about that object as well. So already, I get a huge value from using this open source project called Backstage, where I can see everything about everyone else. Now, this uses a very special YAML file. You have to add your Git repository. It's catalog info. So that's how you get all these dependencies and everything documented. But that is an amazing thing all by itself. And if I come over here and look at this other little project, the thing I mentioned already is that we can actually bring together the world of code and models. We can see this bit of code here actually depends on a model. If I come over here now, I'm actually looking at the OpenAI API, all right? So this is actually OpenAI's API documented as OpenAPI. I know this is kind of confusing by itself, but here's the OpenAPI definition. I can say, what models do this model server have? This is a VLLM model server, which you can see right here, okay, running on the back end of this. So basically, I have my models, my code, everything running as Kubernetes pods, all within a single cluster, all scheduled throughout that infrastructure. So all that is easy to do. Now you might be thinking, well, how did all this get set up? Well, let me show you this concept of the golden path template. So that's another capability within the Backstage universe. I can hit create here, and I can say I specifically want to look at a certain template, and I like this one the most here. Let's go hit choose here. And I can name this thing, let's say I want to call this the HR bot, because I want to build a new chat bot that's really related to human resources. And I'll call that HR bot. And I'm going to hit next here. And I can then choose a model that I wish to serve. So there might be open source models you're interested in, whether they be something like Granite, Llama, Mistral, whatever it might be. But this model set was actually curated for me by the people on the MLOps team, someone back in the data science universe, and they've basically said, here's the models you can pick from as a developer that wants to engage a large language model. I'll just pick something easy for now. I'll just pick, let's say, Mistral, right, just to have one. And then I'm going to put that in the open source project where we put container images called Quay. And of course, that goes into GitLab. And I'm going to hit create here. And the real magic is not the template. The real magic is actually ArgoCD, which is going to provision everything for me and put all that infrastructure together as I want it and as I need it. So if you can see here, it's creating the ArgoCD resources. I've hit open the component in the catalog here. I can then go directly to GitLab in this case, and I'll open that up. And you can see that I don't necessarily just want the code, the sample code here. The part that's really interesting is how ArgoCD produces everything I need. So if I come over to the Helm charts, I can see that there's even AI templates for producing all the AI infrastructure that I might need. And then if I look over here at runtime, as an example, you can see this is a K-serve serving runtime. Now, to put all that in perspective, let's just kind of fast forward here very quickly. I want to show you a project that's already been going through this process. It takes several moments to actually bootstrap a large language model. But I'm actually going to make a change to this particular application here. Here it is on my hard drive already. I already did the git clone. I am connected to the cluster. I can say get CRDs. Let's do a grep for KubeFlow. So KubeFlow, another project that's out there in the cluster, and helps me serve large language models, specifically K-serve helps me with that. And you can see I can maybe look at this specific type right here, this specific kind. Let's see, and I have one of those right there right now. So I already have a K-serve container running. As a matter of fact, I'm running Stern here that's basically streaming out the logs right there. So let's actually get in here and actually make a change real quick. So I'm going to make a code change to this little guy. And maybe, and actually I want to actually bring up my, this is another project called Quarkus. It's a Java runtime that allows you to integrate with a lot of different things, large language models being one of them. But what I want now is make a code change. And right now we have a very simple little thing. I'm going to actually cheat here and grab a little bit of code. One thing I like about large language models is you can give them some personality. And maybe I want this one to be Chuck Norris, okay? I want to be the Chuck Norris bot. Let me open the right window here. So here we go. Let's see if I did that correctly. Better yet, how do I sign up for health benefits? How about that? Health benefits. If it's an HR bot, maybe we want that sort of thing. And as you notice, Chuck Norris doesn't need health benefits because, he can't be killed kind of thing. But you can just give this thing a personality. You can kind of use the system prompt any way you want. Let's say that's all I really want to do, just to make it very straightforward. I will come in here now and say, let's see, I've made some changes. And remember, there's 3 tools you need. You need your IDE. I use Visual Studio Code in this case. You need your Git Manager, and you need your Backstage. And I'm going to come in here and make this change, right? Let's call it, we just made it AI Chuck, Git push. And that's going to push it back into the cluster where something like Tekton takes it the rest of the way. So with Tekton, you're actually going to see a whole end-to-end execution of a pipeline here. You can see here it is loading now. To kind of give you a feel for what that pipeline looks like when it's executed, though, not only does it git clone that, do the Maven package of it, or whatever the appropriate build tool is, but it builds and signs the container image using a technology called SIG stores. So you can sign that artifact. You can create an SBOM for it, the software bill of materials, and you can do the software supply chain security practices that you want. All that, of course, gets staged into your image registry. I'll let you see that here. There's the attestation, the signature, and the SBOM, all those artifacts there. That SBOM, of course, can be stored in something called Guac. I have Guac running over here as well, so you have the ability to search through that SBOM and see where that log4j might be in your current application infrastructure. And all of that happens back here inside these tools. So it all comes together in a seamless end-to-end developer experience. And all I've shown you so far is hello world, how to build a chatbot, connect both the software development lifecycle with the model development lifecycle. Let me jump over there to the model side of the house. Yeah, let's go over here. So this is that KubeFlow. This is that open data hub that you might have heard of before. And you can see I have my Mistral AI bot. You can see there's specific workbenches. And these workbenches are specifically Jupyter notebooks. You can see here's my Jupyter notebook running over here. And here's the Python code you probably expected when you heard I was going to do some code and show you some large language models. So of course, you would use Python. In this case, it's a nice little test. You can see it actually, in this case, it runs a specific quality test. And I know I'm running out of time. And I'm going to show you like this quick little pipeline. If I run this pipeline now, let's see if all this works for me. And it's going to take a moment to submit that pipeline. But now we have the full KubeFlow-based pipeline that is going to basically deal with the model lifecycle using tools that the modeler, the data science person, cares about more, which is a Jupyter notebook and that environment. So you have both the MDLC and the SDLC for both parties, and you can see how the pipeline applies on that side of the house also. And the last little thing I want to show you is a technology called InstructLab that we've been working on and we've recently open sourced. And that is a tool to help you fine tune and align your models. It consumes a model and then it produces a new model based on the files that you create, based on the data you provide it. If I come over here and look here just quickly so you can see it, click on the right button. It basically creates a taxonomy. You apply these Q&A YAML files, which are questions and answers. It then generates synthetic data, and then you send that to the model training so that you actually produce a whole new model. And just to kind of give you a simple example of what that looks like, if I come over and click quickly, I can basically say, okay, I think this is the after model here. Who are the founders of my fictitious company called Parasol Insurance? Okay, and I'm going to copy that because we will need that later. And you can see Parasol here is large, well-known. It's actually founded by James Faulkner and James Lebowski, and that's the data that we used in our additional training. So that's how we basically got it to have that information. If I go over here to a generic model, you can see it doesn't have the answer. So you can use retrieval augmented generation for dynamic data. You can use static data and other types of data to basically fine-tune and align the model, again, using open source tools and using standard technologies like Git and CI and all the things that are part of your software development lifecycle and now your model development lifecycle. And I'm officially out of time, but hopefully you thought that was a nice whirlwind tour and a quick lightning talk on how you put it all together. I'll be available if you have any questions. Come see me afterwards. Thank you very much.